You're lying in bed. The room is dark. Everything is finally quiet.
And then it arrives. A memory from years ago, something you said, some small thing you did, a moment nobody else on earth could possibly still remember, rises up out of nowhere, and your entire body flinches. You pull the blanket over your face, a sound escapes you, maybe a word. No. Why? Stop. You weren't thinking about it. You didn't go looking for it. It came on its own, fully formed, as sharp and hot as the day it happened. Why does your own mind do this to you? The easy answer is that you're just embarrassed, that you have a good memory, that you're a little too hard on yourself. But the real answer is far stranger than that, because that flinch is not a glitch. That heat crawling up the back of your neck is not a malfunction. What you are feeling in that moment is one of the most advanced pieces of machinery your species ever evolved, and it is running exactly as designed. You are just running it in a world it was never built for. To understand the cringe, you first have to understand what it's actually made of. And underneath it, there is a single simple thing: fear. Not fear of a predator, not fear of falling, fear of one specific outcome that, for almost the entire span of human history, was a death sentence. Being cast out. Picture your ancestor, not a caveman in a cartoon, but a real human being standing on real grass tens of thousands of years ago. She does not have a house. She does not have savings. She does not have a supermarket or a hospital or a lock on a door. She has one thing standing between her and the cold indifference of the wild: the group, the band of maybe 30, maybe 50 people who hunt with her, share food with her, watch her children, and stand between her and everything that wants to eat her. Inside the group, she survives. Outside of it, alone, she does not last the season. There is no such thing as a lone human thriving on the open plain. It simply did not happen. So her brain did something remarkable. It began to treat her standing in the group as a matter of life and death, because it was. Every glance from the others, every shift in tone, every sign that she might be slipping toward the edge of belonging. Her mind learned to track all of it, quietly, in the background, without ever being asked. That tracking system is still in your skull right now. This is where a psychologist named Naomi Eisenberger enters the story. At the University of California, she wanted to know what social rejection actually does inside the brain. So she put people in a scanner and had them play a simple online ball tossing game with two other players. What they didn't know was that the other two weren't real. Partway through, the game was rigged so that the other two simply stopped throwing the ball to them. They were left out, excluded, ignored. And here is what she found: when people were rejected, the brain lit up in a region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. The name doesn't matter. What matters is what else lights up that exact same region: physical pain, the distress of being left out, and the distress of a physical injury run through overlapping circuitry. To your brain, exclusion doesn't feel like a metaphor for pain. It registers as a kind of pain. Now you know why the cringe hurts in your body, why it isn't just a thought, but a physical wince. You are feeling the echo of an alarm that evolved to keep you inside the group, because staying inside the group was the only way to stay alive. But that only explains the ache. It doesn't explain the timing. Why does it come back? Why does a moment from 10 years ago ambush you while you're brushing your teeth? For that, you have to look at how the memory itself is stored. Your brain does not save all memories equally. It is not a hard drive filing everything into neat, identical folders. It is far more selective and far more strategic than that. It prioritizes. And what it prioritizes above almost everything else is emotion. A memory soaked in strong feeling gets flagged as important. It gets consolidated more deeply. It gets a shortcut carved straight to the surface. From your brain's point of view, this makes perfect sense. The moment you felt that flush of shame was, to your ancient wiring, a moment of genuine danger. A moment your place in the group was threatened. And dangerous moments are exactly the ones you must never forget so you never repeat them. So your brain does you a favor. It keeps the memory loaded, ready, on a hair trigger. A researcher named Dortha Berntsen has spent years studying these uninvited memories, the ones that surface without you calling them, set off by some tiny cue you barely notice. A smell, a word, a room that looks a little like another room. She calls them involuntary autobiographical memories, and you have them constantly. Most are neutral, but the emotional ones come back louder and more often and with more force. So the cringe memory isn't broken, it's the opposite. It's a memory your brain considers too important to let go of. It is guarding you. It is trying to protect you from ever being cast out again. But here is the twist, the thing that flips this entire story on its head. The danger it's protecting you from is not real. There is a beautiful, slightly absurd experiment that proves this, run by a psychologist at Cornell named Thomas Gilovich. He had students put on a deeply embarrassing t shirt, a big photo of a singer most of them found mortifying, and walk into a room full of other people. Then he asked them to guess how many people in that room had noticed the shirt. The students were sure. Everyone saw it. Everyone was judging. Then he asked the people in the room. Roughly half as many had actually noticed. Most weren't paying attention at all. The wearer had dramatically overestimated how much they stood out. Gilovich called this the spotlight effect, the deep, built in illusion that there is a spotlight following you, showing everyone your every flaw, when in truth the spotlight barely exists, because everyone else is standing under their own spotlight, worrying about their own shirt. Sit with what this means for your cringe, that memory that haunts you, that thing you said at a party, the way you waved at someone who wasn't waving back, the joke that landed wrong. Almost no one else remembers it. The other people in that memory forgot it within hours because they were too busy replaying their own moments. You are the only person in the entire world still holding on to it. You are haunting a house that only you can see. The pain is real, but the audience is imaginary. And there is a deeper reason your ancestors evolved to feel this at all. Not just to track their standing, but to show it. A psychologist named Dasher Keltner spent years studying the face of embarrassment, the eyes that dart away, the nervous half smile, the hand that drifts up to cover the mouth. He found that this display isn't random, it is a signal. When you visibly cringe, you are broadcasting to the group that you know you slipped, that you care about the rules, that you are not a threat. And people who show embarrassment are trusted more, forgiven faster, liked better. The blush is an apology your body makes before your mouth can. It evolved to pull you back toward the group, not push you out of it. So, why does the feeling still refuse to fade? Why can't you just decide to let it go? Part of the answer is something psychologists call the negativity bias. Roy Baumeister and his colleagues laid it out plainly in a paper with a title that says everything bad is stronger than good. Across nearly every domain they studied, negative events hit harder and stick longer than positive ones of equal size. One cruel comment outweighs five kind ones. One humiliation outlasts 100 quiet successes. Your brain evolved to weigh threats more heavily than rewards, because in the ancient world, a missed reward meant a hungry day, but a missed threat meant death. Better to remember the shame too well than to forget it and risk it again. There is one more layer, and it's the strangest of all. Every time you pull that memory up and wince at it, you are not simply pressing play on a recording, you are handling it. And memory, it turns out, is not fixed. Each time you recall something, it becomes briefly editable before it is stored away again, a process called reconsolidation, which means that every time you relive the cringe, you may be resaving it with the fresh shame you feel right now stapled on top. You are not just remembering the moment, you are slowly rewriting it to feel worse. You have been sharpening the very knife that keeps cutting you. So let's put the whole machine back together. A social alarm that evolved when exile meant death, A brain that stores your most shameful moments in the most accessible drawer because it thinks it's saving your life. A pain system that makes rejection ache in your body. A spotlight that isn't really there. A bias that makes the bad stick. And a memory that grows heavier every time you touch it. That is the cringe, not a flaw in you, a survival system still standing guard over a threat that vanished long ago. And once you see it that way, something quietly shifts. Because think about what it actually takes to cringe. To feel that heat, you have to be able to imagine how you looked through someone else's eyes. You have to hold a model of another mind and then measure yourself inside it. That ability to step outside yourself and see yourself as others might is one of the rarest things evolution has ever produced. Most animals cannot do it at all. The dog does not lie awake replaying the walk. The cat feels no shame. The cringe is the price of a mind sophisticated enough to care how it appears to others. And that same sophistication is the root of empathy, of manners, of love, of every bond you have ever formed. You cringe because you are capable of connection. The wince is the shadow of your deepest social gift. So the next time you are lying in the dark and the memory rises up and your body flinches before you can stop it, you don't have to fight it. You can recognize it for what it is. An old friend, a little too loyal, still running into the room to warn you about a danger that ended 10,000 years ago. You can thank it. And then you can tell it gently that you are safe now, that the group is not going to cast you out, that the only person still in that room, still holding that memory, still standing under that spotlight is you. And you were always free to turn the spotlight off.